talking about MMA, but I used the UFC initials. And I said the UFC and WWE have a lot in common. And the one thing that they are is that they are both attraction-driven, and that attractions sell pay-per-views. And what you hope is you get two attractions, one against each other, with a personal issue interwoven that's organic and real and not hype and bullshit. And there's something at stake. But you can't do all those things if the guys aren't, quote-unquote, over, if there's not a desire to see these guys, if they're not perceived to be a star. Because our society is so spoiled and so soft, we don't pay our money to see just a real good fight. I want to see some sizzle here.
Yes.
Now, this guy took exception to that, and I said, look, I'm not knocking UFC. You're comparing USC's, what their big goal is, that's to develop stars that sell pay-per-views and tickets. This WWE. Develop stars that will sell pay-per-views and tickets. Where am I wrong here?
You're not wrong at all. You're hitting it right on the head. And, seeing a conflict that appears sincere between two individuals, all right, okay. But you're right in that if the individuals themselves have no draw with the people, if the people just aren't interested in them and their personal stories and them as an athlete, then they don't want to watch it. And, it's been like that with boxing. It's been like, Larry Holmes, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, yet terrible seller.
Yeah.
People weren't interested.
He wasn't over. He wasn't over.
Yeah, he didn't get over. And, there's arguments about all kinds of different ways of approaching stuff. But I think the biggest thing is you always got to make sure that whatever it is you do as from the athlete side, make sure that you stand out. Because some guys they get over not because they're the best or they say the craziest thing or they're the most over the top. People have this really this idea that you have to just, talk more crap or be louder or have a more obnoxious part to your personality. But it's not about that because, anybody can be that. It's just you have to have something about you that stands out in an individualistic way that people can somewhat relate to or even that they can't relate to it at all. And it's so interesting to them that they're interested to see more of it. And so fighters, wrestlers, all of them, man, they got to be the kind of thing that when you're that thing, it's not something that you can just buy anywhere else. And then from there, a foil will emerge.
Conor McGregor, when he first came on the scene, seemed to be have an organic arrogance, organic kind of a rub you the wrong way type personality. But then he got so good at it, and we're like in a lot of things, Josh, when you're somebody you're watching gets good at something, it's hard to dislike them. He became an entertainer. And sometimes, obviously, he went over the top, right? But I've wondered about his status. I guess he's richer than hell now after the Mayweather fight.
Yep.
So
I give him that.
Yeah. So, hell yeah. Congratulations, Conor McGregor. Buy me a beer sometime. You can afford it. Somebody said, well, he's got so much money he won't want to fight. I don't think people understand that mindset of a fighter. If you got fights left in you, no matter if your bank account's nice and fat, there's still something there that the money can't scratch that itch.
That's true.
You want to compete. And he seems to me like he loves the attention, Josh, and I think he'll compete again in the UFC. What do you think of that assumption? You think he's going back sometime in the octagon or no?
I think there is 100% legitimacy to your statements, by far. Hell, why do some of these old wrestlers keep getting in the ring? It's not because they're making a bunch of money doing indie shows. Right. It's because they live for the moment, and that's not a thing that you can get just anywhere. You can't buy that. It doesn't exist that way. And with Conor, money is going to play a factor also in that he's realized what he can earn. And so there's going to be a battle within him about, well, I want to fight, but I don't want to sell myself cheaper than I have to. I prove that I can make this, there's going to be a part of them that's like, well, I still deserve to make X amount of money. And the UFC is going to say no. And that's where the head's going to come at in terms of making that happen again. But I would be surprised if Conor, from simply being as wealthy as he is now, would just not want to fight. Hell, for me, if I got $50 million or whatever it is that Conor got, I would most certainly fight more. It would make it so much easier to fight, to be perfectly honest. I mean, even to the point of where I would actually be fine with making less money because I wouldn't care anymore. At least this is me. And, I'd try to almost do everything I could to fulfill any sort of, MMA related, bucket list more than, go out there and try to make as much money as possible.
Yeah. Different motivation. It's not the financial motivation as much as you're a warrior. Guys that do that, and like yourself, have been fighting all their life in various arenas and platforms. It's just, that's like somebody says, well, JR, why do you like doing the New Japan stuff? It's because I'm a wrestling announcer. Yeah. For 40 years, I've done this. So why wouldn't I like doing it? It has nothing to do with that. I need to get some more grocery money or I need to make a car payment. I do it because I love to get paid. Don't get me wrong. I do it because I really enjoy the process. I enjoy the calling wrestling matches. And these guys, by and large, I think you and I have agreed on, sometimes there's things we see that are kind of eye-rolling. At least that's me. But there's a lot of really good stuff. Really good stuff.
100%. I love wrestling too. I mean, some of the internet-based guys out there have a tendency to try and equate my philosophy on wrestling as being a very narrow-focused, very specific style concept. But that's not it at all. I absolutely love the living shit out of wrestling, and my background into wrestling comes from a very storied very storied lineage. At least the way I see it, if you get the chance to walk amongst the living legends, it really changes the way you feel and look at things. And to be there and get pulled in to do photo ops with Inoki and Sayama and Fujiwara, and I mean, just you're standing there and I end up here. I don't know why they have any idea that I'm here, but I feel like I don't belong because these guys are just incredible. And to be able to be mentored by Inoki and Billy Robinson and get to train with Carl Gotch and to see how deep this goes and how this goes across time and just all the stuff that's involved with it, it made wrestling even that much more important and such a deeper, more embedded element to what it is that I do in terms of combat sports.
You mentioned Conor, and we both agree that Conor has not had his last UFC fight unless they can't come to terms. So that's always the case, I guess. You said about anybody. I'm with you. I think he's going to fight again. I think he has fun doing it. I think he likes to be in the center of attention. He'd like to see if he can set more records in his genre. But could you see him, all of the guy that made him rich, Floyd Mayweather, who had a in-ring session with the Big Show in WrestleMania 24 in Orlando. Could you see in your wildest creativity, or does it take that to see Conor McGregor in a one-off at a WrestleMania someday?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. There's a couple of ways I see it, though, and one would be some of these fighters think that wrestling is just this thing that is just a big goof, and you run in and you act over the top, and then you because of the WWE, you get paid a boatload of money, and then you laugh all the way to the bank how you were just you got to go out there and act a fool. Then there are those that are actual legitimate fans of wrestling who would view being a part of that as a very once in a lifetime achievement and something they'd be very proud about. So I don't know which side of the equation would be that he would fall on, but at the very least, he would do the former if only hopefully he was more into the latter.
Yeah, he's kind of adapted the Mr. McMahon strut to the ring during the press conferences for Mayweather. He'd come on stage just like Vince used to do back in the Attitude Era. So we got to believe that Conor, somewhere along the way, more than likely watched a little WWE, even in Ireland, because it's big there. So that wouldn't surprise me, and I could see a interesting synergy. But, I said this in interviews. People now, they run with it. I have no inside information that WWE and Conor have even spoken. I assume that big money guys like him, and McMahon is an entrepreneur. He is a great promoter. Why wouldn't you at least make an outreach to somebody that has a proven pay-per-view audience? Because
I agree with you.
Right? So I don't know. Yeah. It's too obvious to not have some contact, in my view.